Today we're going to talk about home warranties. For those of you guys that follow this channel on a regular basis, you know we're talking about everything Reno-Tahoe, Northern Nevada. We try to give you a lot of information about the area, but sometimes we want to get a little more specific about things that might occur in an actual real estate transaction. And home warranties and homeowners insurance are two things that get brought up a lot, but they're not quite the same. So today what we're doing is we brought on Katie Morales. She works for Fidelity Home Warranty, and we're going to talk to you about all things pros, cons, and what they actually are so that you understand the difference between what a home warranty actually does versus what homeowners insurance actually does. So, Katie, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
You've been at Fidelity for how long now?
Over a couple of years.
A couple of years now, and she took over for someone who's been doing this forever. So Fidelity Home Warranty has been something that's been around as long as I've been selling homes.
Yeah, it's a great company. It's a Fortune 300, so
yeah. It's all over the country.
It's not going away.
Right. It's all over the place. And so tell me kind of what the difference is between a home warranty and actual homeowner's insurance.
A home warranty is going to cover all of your systems and appliances in the home. So what does that look like? It's your plumbing, your electrical, your heating, your air conditioning, your water heater, and then those things that seem to always break, like your washing machine, your dishwasher, your refrigerator, those appliances in the home.
When I tell people about like what actual homeowner's insurance, because obviously we have to have homeowner's insurance. Right. And I look at it more like, for example, my sister-in-law lived in Northern California. Unfortunately, her house burned down. All homeowner's insurance is not the same, but it's more for like the stuff like that. Your house burns down. It's a major event that happened at your house.
Structural pieces of it, right?
Exactly.
For instance, this past winter in Reno, I don't know if you knew, but it snowed a lot.
Yes.
And we were on vacation and there was a big storm. Day one, didn't realize I had a leak in my roof. Our home warranty had roof coverage, so I was able to get that repaired. But unfortunately, because we were gone for 10 days, it went into the structural piece. And so we had to cut into our walls, get the mold, and had to restructure or redo all of the structural piece in the house. So I had to use both home warranty and home insurance to get everything taken care of.
Well, I think what people need to do really is, because we obviously are forced to have homeowners insurance, just like we have to have car insurance. I think whoever people are using for their homeowners insurance should sit down and talk to them and say, okay, what if my house burned down, or what things should be covered? You get things that are like add-ons, because you can always have a basic homeowners insurance policy, and then things like that are acts of God, whether it was an earthquake or a flood. Sometimes those are things that are included or not. And a home warranty, I always look at as like things that might happen that are a little bit on a smaller scale. We're talking about like things like garage doors and appliances. But again, there's the basic home warranty policy. So like what would be a standard basic policy? What would that cost somebody?
So it all depends, but I would say like our median price range is around $500. And that's going to cover so many things. It's going to cover your plumbing, your electrical, and then those big ticket items like your HVAC, right? Where if your air conditioning goes out or your furnace goes out and it needs to be replaced, that can cost you tens of thousands of dollars, right?
And typically now, if your HVAC goes out, they want you to do the heater and HVAC together. It's not one or the other. It's almost kind of thought of as one big unit.
And so it's nice when you can get one of our vendors out there who can be able to either repair or replace depending on the situation. And when you have a home warranty, it allows them to stay for longer periods of time because we're being able to maintain.
And so for people to understand is you don't have to be in a real estate transaction to actually get a home warranty. So for example, I've been living in my house for 4 years. If I wanted just at any time to call you and say, I want to get a home warranty on my house, I can do that.
Yep. You just call me and we just get it set up.
And so what we would want to do then is obviously sit down with you and say, okay, here's what basic coverage is. Here's the things that are included. And now if I were to do that, Liz, there's some sort of waiting period, because I know sometimes you'll see people saying, hey, I think this might be on its last legs. Let me go get a home warranty last minute.
Right.
It's going to crap out tomorrow and then I'm going to be able to get it covered right away. So is there a waiting period for someone when they first get a policy?
So when you're in an actual transaction, there's no waiting period, right? The day it closes, you can use it as long as everything's in good working condition. Now, if you were to call me and say, hey, I've been in this home for 6 years and I want to get a home warranty, then we do have a 30-day wait period.
Okay.
Which to me, as long as everything's in good condition, that's an easy
time to wait. I didn't know, and I know everybody, I kind of assumed that was the case, but in a transaction, obviously it's different than that. So going back to when someone's doing a transaction, and this was something that when I first started selling real estate wasn't really a thing as far as putting seller's coverage on, let's say, an active listing. So if someone were to go to put their home on the market for sale, and as part of that listing period said, hey, let's go ahead and put a home warranty in place, like how does that sort of work?
So putting seller's coverage on your listing is a no-brainer. First, it does not cost you or the seller anything to add it. And then, I mean, you've seen it, right? Our listings are staying on the market a little bit longer than they were 2 years ago, right? When they're on the market a little bit longer, it gives them more time to be able to have something happen.
Especially if a house is empty. I mean, I think people don't realize that even when a house just sits there empty, things can still happen to a house that wouldn't normally happen if somebody lived there. They might not find out right away.
So if something does happen during that listing period, you're going, hey, Katie, can you help me? The dishwasher stopped working. Then we get somebody out there during the listing period to either come out and repair, replace, whatever that looks like. And then the cool thing is at escrow, that home warranty is then transferable to the buyer. And then that buyer gets another 12 months of a home warranty.
And at that point, that buyer, if they wanted to, they could spend some more money, add on a few things that wouldn't be part of the basic coverage that usually seller's policy includes.
You can add in on whatever you would like during the time of escrow. So maybe you wanted to add the HVAC or you wanted to add your second refrigerator to the home. I'm just going to give you a quick example of seller's coverage. I had a closing last week and they were at walkthrough and they had seller's coverage on it. The home had been listed for 3 months, had inspection, and at walkthrough they see the water heater leaking the day before it closes. So the fact that they had seller's coverage, we were able to go in there and get the water heater taken care of.
And so when something like that happens, and they reach out, call the home warranty company, how do they decide on who actually is going to come out, what contractor we're using? You guys have a list of people that you use for these things? Or
We do. And all of our vendors are licensed vendors. So it's nice knowing that somebody is licensed and that you know what they're doing when they're coming out there.
So I guess if there's someone like, for example, I know as a real estate agent for years and we do property management as well, we have a list of vendors that we typically use. If there's 3 or 4 different HVAC companies that you guys are using, can they sort of request who they want? Or is it sort of like, hey, here's who you need to call?
Always connect with me and then we can move forward on taking a look at which vendor you would like to use.
Okay.
But yeah, you build these relationships with these people, right? So you find people you work well with any industry. And I think that's why the cool thing about Reno is that you build this community and everyone kind of knows each other and has each other's backs. If you know somebody who you work closely with, we can definitely reach out.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, there's only so many places that you can choose and pick from. I know in my career, there's been more and more vendors for I always say all things housing. I always tell all my clients, no matter what happens to your house, is just to call us first because we pretty much are using these vendors a lot more than that one individual homeowner actually would. So a question I get from clients is this. So let's say as a homeowner, I go to activate or call you and say, I want a home warranty. Are there certain things like, for example, if my air conditioner has not been looked at for 5 years, are there certain things where someone's going to come out and take a look at my house before we activate the policy?
We don't send anybody out there. We do ask that it's in good working condition.
Right.
So if it is in good working condition, then we will have you be part of the policy.
So a lot of times we're getting these questions where people are asking, one, in the middle of a transaction, should I get this or not? And 2, if I, like I said, an existing homeowner, do these make sense for me or not? I always just tell people, you got to just reach out and talk to somebody because I think there's just a lot of misinformation on the differences between the two things. Talking with your homeowner's insurance agent and your home warranty person, it's great, especially for people then that own rental property. So if you own rental property and you're not like obviously living in this house, you're not going there on a regular basis, I personally think for the cost of what the home warranties are, it makes total sense. What types of things do people need to understand? Again, like we always talk about what's covered and what isn't covered. I know we talk about structural, but are there some other things that maybe people think about like windows or other stuff that people just need to know those are not covered?
And I think sometimes when you're thinking, oh, everything's going to be covered. Well, there are things that are not covered and you have to be transparent about that. One being, like you said, windows, fencing, irrigation, so your sprinkler systems. And then there's things that you can like add on a home warranty, which people might not be aware of, like your roof or things like septic, well, pool, hot tub, your outdoor kitchen. That's why I think it's so important to always reach out to your home warranty rep and ask them those questions of, here's what I have, what's covered, what's not covered, and how much does it cover, right? Because maybe, for instance, your appliances, we cover on one of our plans up to $3,500 if each one breaks down,
right,
which is still going to get you a really nice appliance. But you want to be transparent, and that's why I'm like, please call me. I'm here for you. And then you can be able to have those questions be answered.
Well, as I said, I don't think a lot of people realize how many things you can add on to them. And I always say, I always set a basic policy somewhere that was always $400 to $700, depending on the type of house, whether it was new or old or what systems they had. How much money could someone actually spend if they really started tacking on a lot of things? I mean, you could probably spend a couple $1,000s a year if you want to.
Right. I mean, I think I'd probably, like you said, could go up to maybe around $1,000, but then you're having thousands and thousands of dollars of coverage, right? It's like a balance in place of what you want covered and not covered.
And so like if I say I want to add on my roof, are there limits into the amount? Or like, for example, if I live in a 5 5,000 square foot, 1-story house, my roof's obviously a lot more space on it than if I live in a 1,400 square foot little house or a 2-story house where the roof's half as big. They have limits on how much they're allowed to cover. People know this up front?
Yes. And the cool thing about it is our brochure is the exact same as our contract. So everything that is in your contract is going to be in that brochure.
Okay.
The thing you have to do is read it.
You're asking a lot now if you want people to read that stuff. And I know those brochures, those are always the questions we get, are coverage limits. And if I call you and say, hey, it's 12 degrees outside today and my heater just crapped out, is there usually like a time frame that says we'll have somebody out there within X amount of time?
There is in Nevada. We do have a rule of trying to get somebody out there. I think it's 48 hours. Okay. But we also know that things are more of an emergency than others, right? When you said it's 12 degrees in a home and you have a baby and you can't make it livable, that's why it's nice to be able to call a local rep who can then contact somebody and get somebody out there ASAP.
I've had this a few times over my career in a real estate transaction where we had an inspection done on a heater. Literally the heater's heat exchanger was cracked, so it was putting CO2 into the house. And of course, the HVAC guy, when that happened, says, I legally can't even turn the heater back on. It was literally snowing, weather was terrible. And he's like, now we have an emergency. So in an emergency situation, if I had a home warranty and for whatever reason, it's Christmas Day, it's New Year's Day, it's a weird holiday, and I just call someone to make an emergency, is it something where it's like, I can go back to the home warranty company and say, hey, I sort of went out of the scope, or is like, call the 800 number and tell them it's an emergency and we'll get someone out there sooner?
You're right. It always happens on like Friday at 4 or on Christmas Eve. Always need to call Fidelity Home Warranty first. And then at that point, there are times when, that we need to get somebody out that night. And that's when we do offer to allow you, if we can't use one of our vendors, to call in your own service, then we reimburse back. Because we know the last thing you want to do is wait 2 days and
yeah, it just comes up once in a while. You get these weird emergency situations. And usually if it is, it's usually regarding the heater in the winter. Because, as much as people want to complain about the air conditioner in the summer, that's not really an emergency. It's just hot. But usually if there's something big, it's a water event.
Correct.
So something leaked, there was a plumbing leak, there was an appliance leak, a washer dryer made a disaster. And those typically become the more emergency situations that people have to deal with. If you guys have questions about home warranties, homeowners insurance, we'll make sure that we give you all Katie's information down below. By all means, comment, leave a question, and hopefully you're enjoying the content we're putting out there. Please subscribe and follow the channel. And Katie, we thank you for being on today.
Thank you, and you're the best. I love watching all of your videos.
Well,
They're so good.
That. Yeah, I appreciate it. We're trying our best to do that stuff, but we'll get you whatever information you're looking for. And in the meantime, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Awesome. Don't forget to get your home warranty.